Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and coming up here live on our show, we got a special guest, a player that the Las Vegas Raiders drafted in the 2025 NFL Draft. Can you guess who it is down below? We're going to be bringing him on here in about 5 minutes from now. We do also have other segments that are scheduled to go down today. I'm going to be talking about which players I want the Raiders to potentially target in NFL free agency. We're also going to be breaking down some of the latest news and rumors going on around the silver and black. We already have over 450 people here in the show right now, and if you're not pumped up, because I'll tell you this right now, I've done some interviews in the past, but I just had the opportunity. Chokes and I were sitting here talking to this young man, and we were talking for the past 10 to 15 minutes. He's really fired up, and I want y'all to give a warm, and I mean warm welcome to our special guest, Tommy frickin' Mellott. Quarterback, wide receiver from Montana State. We're going to be bringing him on here in just a moment, but I told him Raider Nation gets wild. I told him Raider Nation is unlike anything else he has ever explained, ever seen before in his entire life. So to show Mr. Mellott a little bit of love, I want to see some TMs down below. I got my man Coates, I got Seth, I got Ash, Raider Prime, King Shav. What up, my man? Shout out to all y'all pulling up today here on the Raiders Report. And here's one really cool thing that we can do. If you want to get your questions or comments for Tommy to answer, biggest ones are going to get up on screen. Somebody who wants to bang with Tommy Mellott. Hashtag Raiders Super Chat. Get those questions, comments in. Let's give now a warm welcome to Tommy Mellott. Tommy, what's going on, dude? Thank you so much for pulling up here to the Raiders Report. Give a quick little intro for the nation in case they don't know who you are.
Yes, sir, and I appreciate you getting me on here. So, yeah, Tommy Mellott, hometown Butte, Montana. Played over at Montana State for the past 4.5 years. I started my career there playing wide receiver, wildcat quarterback, special teams. And then I ended up, during the playoffs my freshman year, we went on a run to go make it to the national championship game, and I got my first start at the first playoff game. And ever since then, we've been, leading the Bobcats every single year. So it's been a privilege to be up here in Montana. I can't wait to get down to Vegas and get to work with the coaches and that organization.
I'm excited too. There's actually another really good quarterback that I heard kind of got his start in the playoffs, and then the rest is history. His name's Tom Brady. One of the players that I have heard some NFL comps to is Julian Edelman. What would you say to the entire world that I think that you could be the next Julian Edelman?
Yeah, like I said, played quarterback, and similar to him, I think our best, traits were making guys miss, being elusive with the ball in our hands, and just extremely competitive. So I think regardless of, getting down there, how it's all going to look, I think it's going to be an amazing process, and I just can't wait to go chase it. I think my athleticism is going to be used a lot better, as a receiver, utility guy, whatever it might be, whatever they ask of me. And so I'm excited to make that transition.
Oh, man, I'll tell you this. One of the most electric games I've ever seen was that FCS title game where, you going up against now your teammate Cam Miller. Explain the thought process of, you're going up in an FCS title game up against that Cam Miller. Obviously, NDSU ended up getting the dub. What is it like, though, going up against somebody that you competed against for so many years?
Yeah, I started my career, like I said, my freshman year, I got my first start in the playoffs, and we played Cam Miller in North Dakota State that year as well in the national championship game. But I think that was always a standard for Montana State, and it was, obviously for my freshman year, making it to the national championship, then semifinal my sophomore year, and then finally again national championship game my senior year. It's just a standard that we set at Montana State.
Sure. And
so, to be a senior and to have guys that are going to fight for you and get you in that opportunity, you want to play for as long as you possibly can. So those playoffs, as soon as you're done, it might be over forever. So it was great to, play with the guys that we had at Montana State. And I'm obviously fired up to beat Cam, get to know him. He's a competitor. So that's what I know about him right now. But that's all I need to know for sure to know I like the guy. So
I'll tell you this, one of the key words Pete Carroll always goes with is compete, and I can't wait to watch you compete. One of my other things that I absolutely love watching, and I forget what night it was like Friday or Saturday, late after the draft, I went home and I started watching like the videos of the call, the Jack Bech call I saw, Dante Thornton Jr. I was talking to, I saw his call. Can you walk me through what it was like sitting there? Who were you with? Where were you when you got the call? And can you kind of just like tell the nation what that was like? Because I want somebody that wants to be a Raider. I want somebody that bleeds silver and black. And I thought Jackson Powers Johnson said it best. You play for the team on the front. That way they bless the team on the back. So, like, hearing these calls, seeing these things, it gives me goosebumps. Tell me about that experience for you, because I know the entire nation is dying to hear it.
Yeah. No, just similar to those for sure. It's an emotional time for sure. I was back in Butte. It's my hometown. About an hour and a half away from my college in Bozeman, Montana. And so I was with my family, my girlfriend's family, and a couple of other friends and coaches and mentors. So had a smaller group there, but we were just all hanging out. And I got a random call from a Las Vegas area code, and so they're on the clock next. And it was a surreal moment. I'll be honest with you. Getting to talk with Coach Carroll. And Spytech, it was amazing for sure. So, like similar to the other calls that you kind of hear online, I don't think I could really even recall it because I was, almost jumping out my shoes. I was so excited. So, probably just double down whatever you kind of heard on those other media calls.
Nah, man, it sounds like almost you blacked out. We've blacked out a few times on the Raiders Report. I'm not going to do anything crazy like that, but I do know this. I've partied with some people up in North Dakota, Fargo, and the Montana area, and if there's one thing I've already seen, you got a thick northern accent, which I love to be able to see. But you also said before we joined this, your parents are from Las Vegas. Are they really excited that, now you're going to go play for the Las Vegas Raiders?
Oh, yeah. They're originally from Montana, but similar to what it's looking like for me is I'm going to be heading down there, obviously, right after I get done with college. They took a 10-year span of their life that they were down there. So they're for sure fired up. And in general, I mean, Montana, there's not a whole lot of flights getting anywhere direct, but we'd certainly have, quite a few down to Vegas. So I know we'll have a lot of support from people in Montana, and I know it'll be nice for family and friends to make an easy trip down there.
Well, I know this, man. If I ever get an opportunity to go out to Vegas, which Chugs and I, we go out from time to time. If you're a foodie, I got a lot of awesome food recommendation spots, which I'd love to be able to take you out sometime. At least I'll tell you this. First round's on me. First food, whatever you want to get, burgers, wings, I'm buying. Just the first one. Then after that, you're getting NFL money. Then you can pay for me. I do have a question, though. One of the biggest debates going on right now in the world is who would win in a fight, one gorilla or 100 men? But I don't want to know 100 men. I want to know what type of dog we're getting here for the nation. 100 Tommy Mellots or one gorilla? Who's winning that fight?
Yeah, you got to cut that number down in half, and I'm still taking me at least. So that's what we're looking at
50
right
Mellots, one gorilla. Let's go. Yeah, I mean, like, how do you even attack it? Like, that's something that we've been talking about here at Chat Sports. You just surround it. You go at. I mean, what's the game plan?
Yeah, it's got to be. I mean, you got to have that strategy involved. So it's just you got to overwhelm your opponent, So you got all 50 of them going at one time. There's no way that dude, the gorilla can hold up. So that's how I see it, I guess. But I love seeing all those simulations online. It's been a crazy comment or crazy story here for a little bit. It's entertaining, though, to think about.
I'm going to put a homework assignment out there to the nation. If somebody can do a simulation of 100 Tommy Mellots or 50 Tommy Mellots versus one gorilla, I'm going to share it on Instagram and Twitter at Mitchell Renz 365. So we talked about earlier, Mellot, just how athletically gifted you are because, I mean, I was actually really surprised by the numbers, 41.5 vertical. I had somebody tell me, like, you're the FCS version of Johnny Manziel, and I had to tell a lot of people, I mean, to be honest with you, I think Mellot's a little bit more athletic than Johnny Manziel, and a lot of the numbers sit back and they prove that. Because you're just this unicorn of a player and we don't maybe know too much about your game, if you were to sit down with Pete Carroll, John Spytech, how would you use you on a football field to get wins?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm a utility guy on offense, and that's to some extent I have been used like that at Montana State. I certainly was a starting quarterback, but we used a lot of two quarterback systems. I would have inverted, zone read handoffs, where we had another quarterback on the field who'd hand it off to me, and we'd run a naked off of it, jet sweeps to me, and we kind of extend a triple option out there. So there's a lot of really cool stuff you can do with a person who can run, throw, and catch. And so, you see that all over the place. And so, that's I certainly am down. I'm excited for whatever they ask of me, and I'm going to do whatever they ask me. But on the offensive side of the ball, I think that I'm, a great weapon for, Coach Chip Kelly and the entire staff. But I'm excited to get down there and go prove that for sure.
Now, I'm excited to see how Chip Kelly gets his whole entire Raiders offense going, just because, over the past few seasons, this Raiders offense has struggled a little bit. I actually love what they were able to do in the draft. Have you had the opportunity to talk to any of the other players that the Raiders have drafted? And, are you already building some cool relationships? Have any of the, current Raiders players reached out to you yet?
Yeah, immediately after I got drafted, the punter, AJ Cole, he reached out, just a direct message. I was down in California to train, and somehow connections came about, and I was catching punts from him, so we got a little bit of work there because I know that I will be a special teams guy, on top of whatever they might be using me on offense. So that's a huge emphasis of me, and I wanted to go start making that transition because I've always been a quarterback. So
sure.
It was great to work with him, and so it was awesome that he reached out. He's a great guy. Max Crosby, he reposted something and one of my, when I got drafted. So it was really cool to hear from him. I can tell he's a high character, leader of their team right from the bat. So that was awesome. And, I for the rookies, I've, directly reached out to Cam just because we've kind of had a little bit of a connection there the last couple of years, just playing against each other. So I want to congratulate him and get to, start kind of making sure we're on the same page that it's all about the Raiders now. So,
it's all about the Raiders. And I'll tell you this, I'm telling you, I am a new Raider fan. I'm not afraid to admit that. But just getting to know this fan base, I always say Raider fans prove to me all the time that you don't have to be blood to be family. And it's a rowdy bunch. They're going to have your back no matter what. But if you go out there, you give 110%, I know that this is going to be a fan base that really, really does truly rally behind you. You talked about relationships. You talked about that relationship with AJ Cool, which I think is really, really cool. And then also on top of that, this organization clearly values relationships. From Pete Carroll, John Spytek, have you only talked to them during when they gave you the call? Have you had more opportunities to talk to them? And, growing up watching those guys, what's it like to be able to sit here and go, holy shit, Pete Carroll is my head coach?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. If you can believe it, we have a couple other guys from Montana State, coaches and players that have had relationships and played for or coached with Coach Carroll. So, I've heard a lot of great things about him. I'm fired up to obviously go meet him and confirm all those great comments myself. But yeah, I just felt all the process. I think the biggest relationship and one that's another cool connection is Coach McMahon, the special teams coordinator. He's a Montana boy himself from Helena. So
okay,
I'm fired up to go get to know him and work with him.
Yeah, I know Tom McMahon, he was at one point a Bronco. Now he's a big-time Raider. So Montana, I got to be able to figure out a way to get up there. Actually, one of our loyal watchers, we call him Rebel Montana. And I did see a question come in here. And, well, not question, but I got one from Patrick B. He's one of our old-time watchers. He's super excited to have you here. One of our guys named Sean Irish said, love to have you here, Tommy. Welcome to Raider Nation. Excited for your career. Geno Smith, our new quarterback here. How do you think you fit with Geno Smith? He is an extremely accurate quarterback. He's just now getting into the realm here with the nation. What is your skill set best with Chip Kelly, Geno Smith? How is that all going to just blossom together?
Yeah, I haven't had, direct conversations with Geno or exactly what my position will be. And I know that receiver spot is kind of, where I got drafted. That's kind of what they put up on the board there. So I'm obviously excited to, I think that I'm, a super elusive guy. So I'm going to be able to go find areas. I have a really great feel. I know that in football and beyond that, a catch and run guy to go, make the extra play. And then also, in the run game to be a guy that's physical and to block. And overall, I've played quarterback. So I think that's a unique thing for a receiver to be kind of mindset, to understand the protections, understand when someone's hot, understand where you're at in the progression and where you're at in dictated by coverages. And that's something that regardless of, me playing receiver and maybe not playing quarterback, that I'll be, I'll study the offense in the same way. So, I'll for sure just kind of be as on the same page as I possibly can with them. So I'm very excited about that.
So, Tommy, I got two random questions for you. The first one, and I don't need to know if you're Netflix and chilling, but I do at least want to know, what are you watching right now on Netflix? And then my other question to you is this. Have you ever banged in front of over 1,000 people? Because
Or banged in front of 1,000 people?
Yeah, because there's something that we like to do here on the Raiders Report. When somebody sends in a $100 super chat, we like to bang. So I'm going to give a shout out to somebody that just banged here on the Raiders Report. And if you want to yell bang at home, you can yell bang at home as well. Because Lord Cameron Abbott, bang! So all that is just the nation showing love to you. He says, we're happy to have you here, Tommy. Can't wait to see what you can do. Congrats from the nation. Bottom line, I promise you, Raider Nation is always going to have your back, Tommy. That I guarantee. But let's go back to the Netflix question. What shows are you watching right now on Netflix? Unless you're not watching it.
Yeah, funny enough, I know it's based in Montana. Maybe it's on Netflix, but I'm starting to watch Yellowstone. So I kind of wanted to see how realistic it really was, So I know it's based in around the general area of Bozeman, and that's, obviously where I've lived for the past 5 years. So I don't really watch a whole lot of series.
That's okay.
I'm like really fighting to get through the first couple episodes, even despite how entertaining it is. I just, I don't love just sitting down and just watching TV. I'm kind of a busybody with it. So
quite frankly, I'm glad that was your answer, right? I mean, if you're spending hours watching Netflix, I'm almost a little bit concerned about the whole thing. I do have a random question for you, and it is, just kind of about, well, actually, I just saw a shout out from Nabman. What up, Nabman? One of my questions that I have for you, though, Tommy, is I think Raider fans, we're always about history, and the history is, multiple Super Bowls many, many years ago. Not too many times do I get somebody on this show that looks younger than I do. So who do you think is like a old school Raiders player that your game resembles? Like old school Raider player that your game resembles? Yeah,
I mean, just looking at what the transition is kind of looking out to be here in the NFL and playing for the Raiders. It's hard to explain or hard to define, in one single individual.
Sure.
Because I think I do have a unique skill set, but I certainly don't have a clear idea of what that's going to look like yet with the coaches. So I don't want to speak too much, but, just doing some research, looking a little bit back, I looked into Clem Daniels, played from 61 to 67.
Okay.
And it was a while ago, it's triple option football. It's split back. Misdirections, all that stuff. And it's just cool to see kind of how utility players have played for so long and kind of how people can revolutionize an offense. And so, I like to, I've heard a lot of how it's just always cat and mouse between offense and defense. And I think that he was kind of, he made that big jump because, he played receiver, running back, DB. He did a ton of different things for him. He was in the split back. He was split out as a receiver, catching passes, running the ball. I even saw a play where against the Chiefs, they had a toss in the backfield where he threw to Fred Blitnikoff. So some really cool stuff there. But I think that was a cool opportunity to at least appreciate a Raiders legend like that, because I think that it's that gadget player. There's very few throughout the NFL, and I'm not guaranteed that that's what I'll be doing by any stretch. But I thought it was a great thing to throw that out there, throw some love to him, because he was a stud.
I'll tell you this right now. Al Davis is smiling down the fact that you just dropped Clem's name. And quite frankly, I think the amount of brownie points that you just received from Raider Nation is it's outstanding down below. Let's get some TMs down below for Tommy Mellott. I actually love this question coming in from Gary Gonzalez. Tommy, it's going to happen, and I hope that you do this multiple times this season in your entire career. When you score your first touchdown in the NFL, what celebration can we expect to see?
The best celebration I ever got to pop off in college, I loved obviously getting back with the guys, but, when you're out, you run away from everybody, you do a little bit of a finger roll with the ball, like, basketball a little bit.
Okay.
And so that always fired me up, to be honest with you. So there's a handful of times we got that rolling here at Montana State, so that's what we'll be looking for.
Well, I don't know what it's going to be. I want one time before a game, maybe this year, next year. I hope that we stay in contact. I want like a touchdown celebration that you're going to tell me that you're going to do, and then when you do it, the entire fan base can freak out. That'll just be down the road a little bit. I want you to concentrate on what it takes to get into the end zone first. If anybody wants to get a question in here for Tommy Mellott, hashtag Raiders or Super Chat to get those up on here. The next question that I got for you, Tommy, is kind of a silly one. Let's say you're on death row. First, what did you do to get there? And last, what are you going to eat on death row? Final
what did
meal.
I do to get there? Man, shoot. And then what was the second question?
So you're on death row. How did you get there? And what's your last meal?
It's my last meal. How did I get there? Shoot.
Shoot. Ran through a mother effer's face. How about that?
Yeah, I guess so, man. I'll throw that down for you. That's an easy take right there, so I appreciate that. But the final meal, I'm Montana boys, so we got a lot of cows. We love our beef up here. I'd take a steak, some eggs, some sweet potatoes, all that stuff. I love it. So that'd for sure be the last meal right there.
I mean, anytime I hear you say shoot you don't have to keep saying you're a Montana boy. It is unbelievably clear in this interview, dude. I really appreciate everything you got going on for us here. We have another question?
I do, yes.
Chugs has got a question.
All
He's
right.
coming in now.
Let's
Tommy,
go.
First off, do you have a nickname that we need to know about?
Man, I'd like to go earn it again, to be honest with you. I don't really want to be bringing it up, but back in college, and to be honest with you, I never really loved the nickname very much, but like you heard earlier, it was the whole Johnny Manziel, coordination. They love calling me Tommy Football, just like Johnny Football, and then also, they always say touchdown Tommy. That was a thing that got started here before I even got to Montana State. So obviously you got to go prove those things again. I don't really want a nickname right off the bat, but I'll go, see if I can go make some plays and go see if I can get that back again.
Yeah.
Let's go. I actually workshopped some nicknames for you. If you'll indulge me and let me know what you think about some of these best ones. I asked everybody in the office best nicknames for Tommy Mellott. Can I spit a couple off to you?
Let's hear it.
Parking Mellott.
Parking?
We have Mellott on my plate. Mellott Magandhi. Tommy Salami.
Mellott Gandhi? Oh my gosh.
Tommy Boy. Sir Melodicus. We have Melodic Clock. We have, where is it? Melodic Aura. What are any of these ringing out to you?
I've never heard any of those before, but I love it. That's some creativity right there.
I think the two that he came up with personally are a little bit better. I mean, Tommy Football, I just hope that we get an awesome nickname for you. I hope that you're able to find the end zone a lot. I'm seeing some pretty creative ones down below. No doubt about it. So, Tommy, is there anything else? Because I know I didn't want to keep you here all day. I appreciate everything that you did. Again, huge shout out to you, dude, for being able to live your dream. I'm super excited that you're a part of this Raiders organization, and we have an amazing fan base. We're going to rally behind you. Is there anything that you want to market, you want to talk about? Is there anything that you want to bring some light on now that I got you here? Are you doing anything special? Please let me know.
Yeah, I don't really got anything to add here, but I'm just fired up to get down there. I know that it's all about winning. It's all about competition. So I love looking through all the, historic quotes from Coach or Al Davis and, the just win, baby. I love that. That's what it's always been about. That's what it'll continue to be about down in Las Vegas. So I appreciate, letting me be on here and meeting, present myself and to some of the fan base. So that's awesome.
Absolutely, dude. And then, like I said, I'll hit you up again next time I'm out in Vegas. Do your thing during the season. You don't got to pay me no attention, but I would love to be able to introduce you to some people, go out and grab some food, go out and grab a few burgers, go out and grab some drinks. Maybe, again, not during the season, but again, dude, greatly appreciate your time. Super excited to see what this season has to bring. And can I get a really loud Raiders at the count of 3? You ready? This is a big one.
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Raiders! We'll work on it, Tommy. It's got to come from the diaphragm. It's got to come from the diaphragm.
All right. We'll be locked in.
All right, Tommy. I'm going to see some finger rolls. Appreciate your time, dude. And if you need anything, don't be afraid to hit me up.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for getting me on here. Appreciate you guys.
All right, Nation. Say goodbye to Tommy Mellott. Huge shout out to that guy right there. Raiders 6th round pick, 213 overall. I wanted to be able to bring him on here. He told me 20 to 30 minutes. Great job by him. Also, huge shout out to Lord Cameron Abbott. Huge shout out to Sean Irish, Patrick B. for showing him a little bit of extra love. We got 1,200 people here in the building right now. If you appreciated that interview, and if you want to see more interviews on the Raiders Report, I want you to click that like button. I am currently in the works right now of getting another Raiders draftee on the show. It's probably going to be next week. They have a lot of meetings on Thursday, and next time I go live is going to be on Thursday. I was trying to get Tommy and another player. I'm not going to tell you who that is. Special guest. He'll be on probably next week, but they got some big-time meetings on Wednesday and on Thursday. But you know how I am. I want y'all to grade the Tommy Mellott interview A, B, C, D, or F. How did he do? He's definitely from Montana. I'll tell you that right now. Super nice kid, super humble kid. And honestly, dude, like we were talking to him for like 10 to 15 minutes before we actually came live on this show. And you want to talk about laid back Montana, small town type of feels. But I mean this, if nobody has seen Mellott play, go put on the highlight tape, go watch him. The game that he told us to try to go find was what? Idaho, right? He said, go turn on the tape on Idaho. And that's something that I'm going to do later on. I see Bill Johnson says it was awesome. What up, Zalesbo? Appreciate you tuning in. Ray Ramiro, I gotcha. Victoria, he seems a little shy.
Yeah.
And I mean, like, you know, we always think about this from you get drafted in the NFL. The people, I think, just assume right away you're going to be this big-time star. I didn't get that vibes at all. He is a super humble, and he's going to be a hard-working dude, and he just wants to get to know the nation. And how about that reference he dropped? Clem, 1961 and 1967. I mean, that tells me he does homework. If you're doing homework on OG Raiders players like in the 60s, honestly, anything, I thought he was going to give me something like early 2000s, or like early 1990s, 60s, legend.
I would have put all my money on Hunter Renfrow. I thought he was going to say Hunter Renfrow.
You thought Hunter Renfrow?
I mean, just like, you know, a recent Raiders guy, a slot wide receiver, return man, shifty guy. I thought that's where he was going to go. But then he pulled out Clem.
Clem was wild, dude.
Jay Mills.
Wild.
Thanks for watching and giving us the $2 super chat, buddy. Appreciate it.
As a trucker that passed by Montana a lot, do you have a restaurant preference in Butte? Sorry, Reb. I realize this one is now for Mellott. We had a few questions for him, and I wasn't able to get to all of them, though. I will send him that question in the DMs, Reb. I got you.
We had to make sure we got out of there because he's got important stuff to do. He told us, you know, he's a couple weeks away from going down to Vegas and getting, you know, kind of his nest set up down there and getting ready to get in the Raiders facility and get to work. So he's got a lot on his plate. And, you know, he took some time out to come and do this because he said, you know, I want to know Raider Nation a little bit more. I want to, you know, get out and, like, interact with Raider Nation more. And I props to him for doing that.
Yeah, we originally were going to do the interview a little bit later on, but he had some football stuff that he had to attend to, and, you know, in the most respectful way possible. Tommy, you know, don't pay any attention to me. Do what you need to do to be able to go out there and win some football games. But he gave 20, 30, 40 minutes of his time today. You got to know him a little bit better. Definitely a shy guy. But, you know what, man, it's going to be somebody that works, and he's going to be putting in the time and the effort just like Max Crosby. Rebel, Marsh wants to know, are we sharing a couch after Game 5? You know, speaking of some games out there, I don't know if anybody else wants to talk about Game 4 for Jeremy Chuggs. Chase, Chuggs, what happened to the Rockets in 5? I got a text message last night, 12:30 in the morning, my time. It was Raider Ron, and all he said was, make sure Chuggs is ready. Raider, I'll tell you this. I was watching that Rockets and Warriors game last night, and I actually did want the Rockets to win, but it's because I want the game to go to 7. If we could still figure out how to get this to 7, I am rooting for the Warriors, though. That game was fun last night. What up, Rich Wolf? Jalen Green paints his nails. Alpy is as slow as a snail. Curry being Houston's daddy never fails. Dubs in 5. No, you don't want to add anything? You good?
Well, We also have Raiders news and rumors going on today. We had the interview now. We also have Raiders news and rumors. So I want to know how many rushing yards for Jeanty this year, guys. Let me know.
Oh, man.
Let me know in the chat. How many rushing yards for Jeanty in year one?
How many rushing yards for Jeanty in year one? Let me know down below. I've also realized that my voice, man, I am still trying to power through. I know I don't sound great. Azul said, Mitch, you sounded nervous. To be honest with you, definitely not nervous. It is more of a doing something that, you haven't done in a while. And Chugs and I host so many shows together that we kind of know how to work off of each other.
Yeah.
And when you get somebody else that's new to the realm, you don't know how the questions are going to go. You don't know how it's going to go in general.
And it's like us at Chat Sports, we're more, online and everything. And Mitch started his career, writing articles and being a content creator where, you've done interviews, but not
sure.
You're not like an interview person. You're a Raiders content creator. You make your own content. You're not as much of an interview guy.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, I don't really want to be an interview guy. But at the same time, when you have an opportunity to bring on a Raiders player, it is a huge, huge boost to this YouTube channel. But it's also a huge, huge boost to, all y'all watching. I want to be able to give you guys new content. And I hope that you appreciated it. And like I said, I'd like to be able to do it in the future. I want to give some shout-outs here, though. We got over 1,000 people here in the building. I see Troy Gill says 1,200. Keith Jeffrey says 1,250. Jack over 1,000 rushing yards. If he doesn't get over 1,000 rushing yards this season, I'm not going to lie to you, I am going to be a little bit upset.
Big Luck says 800.
800, I would be disappointed. If Ashton Jeanty finishes this season with 800 rushing yards, then honestly, I think he got hurt, and I don't even want to bring that up, but I think he got hurt. If you're the silver and black and you're planning on running this offense the way that I think, I love Azul's. How many rushing yards? 2 miles. How many is that? I don't even know. 1 mile is what? 5,280 feet. Times 2. 10,000 something divided by 3. That's a lot of rushing yards. But you know what? I'm in. I'm absolutely in. All right, Chugs. You all want to get into the first segment here on today's show? Also, we are going to be talking about some post-draft free agent targets. And as soon as the draft ended, I had a bunch of people asking me, what are the Raiders' biggest needs right now? And to me, if you haven't already voted, make sure you go vote at the live poll at the top of the show. What is the Raiders' biggest team need right now? But as it stands, the silver and black, we got about $42 million in salary cap space, and we have plenty of money to go out and sign a free agent. If you were Pete Carroll and John Spytek, who would be the number one free agent that you would be targeting right now after the NFL draft? Also, some random NFL news that just happened. Andrew Van Ginkel, 1 year, $23 million deal with the Vikings. Extension. Oh, man, if it was up to me, that guy would have been a Raider many, many years ago. So, name a free agent that the Raiders should sign after the draft. Let me know. We're going to give some shout-outs here on the show. I see David says Jalen Ramsay. Ramsay, you got to trade for. He's not a free agent. Can you push that for me?
Oh, yeah.
Sean, what's up, man? 2 miles equals 3,520 yards if my math is mathin'. Sounds pretty good to me. Come on, y'all. Give me somebody. Case Moose says Justin Simmons. Isaiah Simmons was signed. Justin Simmons, free safety, is still available. You're going to hear me talk about him. Chad Ochocinco is wild. Aaron Rodgers as a backup, please no. I see Keenan Allen in there from Owen and the Dwyers. I'll talk about Keenan Allen potentially here a little bit. James Amena is going to go with C.J. Mosley. Brian said, I need a free safety here for the Raiders. I got a few super chats that I want to get to here. What up, Johnny? Ashton Jeanty, stomach empty. Draft picks, we had plenty. Lakers losing in 5. Dude, I'm not going to lie. These are amazing. These are, at first I'm like, Ashton Jeanty, my stomach's empty. Let's go. What up, Patrick? I thought touchdown. Touchdown Tommy sounded really good. I'm with you. Tommy Football, Touchdown Tommy were probably the 2 best nicknames. Now, the ones that we had from Chat Sports, we literally told the Chat Sports crew, give us as many random Mellot nicknames as you possibly can. Let's see how he reacts to them. I was watching his facial expressions while you were naming those off, and he was just sitting there. He's like, all right. I've never heard that one. Like, you could literally tell him he was doing the math in his head.
I was a fan of Mahatma Gandhi.
See, I don't get that one. I literally don't.
Do you not know who that is?
I know Gandhi.
Yeah.
Is that his first name, Mellot?
It's Mahatma.
Yep. See, I didn't know that. I just knew him as Gandhi. Sorry, we're not on a first name basis. I don't know. I know him as Gandhi. Again, if you're trying to get history lessons here, you're in the wrong spot. I actually got a Slack from Petey today, and it said, literally, so Petey, one of our guys here at Chat Sports, he'll always Slack you stuff from like way long time ago. The Slack that I got from Petey today was, on December 30th, 2024, remind me to teach Mitch about World War II. He set that alarm for today, April 29th. I don't know why, but that's the shit that I get from Petey. What up, Caleb? Chugs, there's a few updated rosters I have found on Madden Creation Center already. Ready for the Sim Boys. Love from Oklahoma. You know, it's funny. I actually talked to Chugs yesterday about our Madden Sim plans, and the new schedule comes out on May 14th, which we're going to be here breaking it all down for you. Honestly, there's a part of me that almost kind of wants to be live for the Raiders schedule release. We'll see how all the ins and outs go around it. But I will say this. The plan is the very first Raiders Report Madden live stream, Friday, May 16th. That's the plan. And I hope that it's able to come to fruition. We have the whole schedule already kind of laid out for all y'all. I'm planning it around my wedding. I'm planning it around my honeymoon. So May 16th, though, is the first day that I think that we're going to be able to do this. But Caleb, I'm excited too. And it's crazy that you bring that up because we literally were just talking about that yesterday. Wild stuff. All right, y'all, I want to get into the very first segment here on today's show. Though I do want to give a shout out to Aggressive Master Raider. Master Raider says, our very own Taysom Hill. Welcome to the nation, Tommy. I see Nabman said, welcome home, Tommy. Ready to practice with all the bangers on the defense. Love it. And then I also saw one from James K. Tommy, can you do special teams like a return gunner? What's really interesting is when you hear what Mellot had to say, and, you know, hearing about Tom McMahon being a Montana guy, hearing how A.J. Cole reached out to him to do some punting stuff. This is an organization that has always valued relationships, even more so now with John Spytek and Pete Carroll. If there was one thing that I really gathered from that, it was his relationships with Tom McMahon, and I do think that you're going to see a lot more special teams, you know, ability here from a lot. Maybe it's punt returner, maybe it's kick returner. If it was up to me, I would use him as a punt returner more so than a kick returner. I think Trey Tucker might be a little bit better suited as a kick returner, but, you know, a dude that's got 4.39 speed and moves the way that he does in the open field punt returner, I'll tell you this, man, I think it'd be pretty damn interesting. Big Luck, I love the idea. He said 500 likes, and we're doing the first segment. Big Luck, what's going on, brother? I think it's a great idea. We do have two segments on the show. 500 likes, we get the first one started. We do have nearly 1,000 people here in the building right now, and we're going to walk through some of the Raiders news and rumors. I'm also going to tell you who are the free agent targets that I would potentially look at if I was Pete Carroll, if I was John Spytek, coming up here in just a little bit. Though, I got to get something for my voice here. Hang on a second. We're feeling good. Feeling good, nation. It's Tuesday, live here on the Raiders Report. We're going to be talking about Colton Miller, Ashton Jeanty, and I've been hearing some stuff around Amari Cooper that we need to address. Those are going to be the stories coming up here on the Raiders Report. Are you ready, my man? Chugs is giving me the thumbs up. Coming up, let's get into the latest news and rumors around the Silver and Black. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Report, and the rumors coming up here on today's show. Colton Miller extension, is it coming soon? We got a little bit of an update on Miller that I'm excited to be able to talk about. Ashton Jeanty, is he going to win Rookie of the Year? And then at the very end, is Amari Cooper coming to Las Vegas? A lot of rumors right now involving Cooper and the Raiders. How much of it's smoke? How much of it is actually, just blowing smoke. If you don't already know, I want you to join the Raiders Report family. If you're looking for news, for rumors, all off season long, I promise you I got you covered. I know May, June, and July is rolling in here, but here's the thing. You're going to get a video on every day in May, video every day in June, video every day in July. I'm going to work extra hours before my wedding, before my honeymoon, to still make sure that you're going to get content. I got commitment to excellence, and I hope that y'all do too. Hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications. That way, you never miss a thing. Let's talk about here Colton Miller, because a lot of rumors, a lot of worry around Miller, and is a contract extension coming soon for him and the Las Vegas Raiders. I'm going to give this one 3 just win babies, and I'm going to say that it's pretty likely that it's coming up here in a little bit. The number one date that you got to keep in mind is May 19th. That's when, May 19th is where you got to start showing up to camp, but then June 10th is when everything becomes mandatory. But here's the thing. I said up here on this show, and I said that I talked to Miller, it was before the NFL draft, and I said I didn't really get the vibe talking to Miller that he was really worried about holding out, demanding a trade, and there was a lot of speculation going into the NFL draft. I don't know if you saw this picture, but yesterday Colton Miller was at workouts, and it's voluntary workouts. If Colton Miller is at voluntary workouts after the NFL draft, I think that tells you everything that you need to know around Miller and what he thinks of this organization. He wants to be a Raider. He wants to be a Raider for life. Does he still want a contract extension? Yes, he does. But I also know the fact that he was there at practice. That is very telling. He still wants that new contract. He's got $0 million guaranteed on his contract with 1 year left, but I do know that the Raiders are working on it. And because I know that the Raiders are working on it, I know that this is going to be something that gets done sooner rather than later. When I said, is the extension coming? Is it coming this week? Maybe. Does it come next week? Maybe. Does it come the week after that? Maybe. But I know that a lot of people were worried leading up to the NFL draft, but essentially what I was told was the Raiders focused on free agency. They focused on getting Geno Smith. They focused getting that contract extension done, and then they put all their time and their energy into the NFL draft. And I don't know if you heard how many prospects John Spytek ended up looking at. He was looking at nearly 1,500 draft prospects. And then when you go back and you look at the NFL draft in general, I'm very proud of Spytek. I'm very proud of Pete Carroll. I'm very proud of this regime. But I do think that the Raiders are going to get a contract extension done with Colton Miller here in the next few weeks. And this is why I believe that this is going to end up happening. The very first reason of why I could see Colton Miller and this contract end up getting done is Miller is still a legit outside, out offensive tackle. This is still somebody that's playing at a high level, and I don't know why people think that he's so old. It's probably because he's been a member of this organization since, 2018, but Colton Miller is still playing a high level of football, which I do think is really, really important to go out there and think about. I mean, last season, yeah, he struggled in the first 6 games, but when you want to talk about from week 6 to week 18, Miller gave up only 1 sack, which I think is really important to say. Also, his 2024 PFF grades, an 80.6 overall, an 82.2 pass blocking grade, a 71.1 run blocking grade. I mean, that's 13th best in the NFL according to PFF. And because Spytek values the offensive line and building in the trenches, why the hell would you get rid of your best offensive lineman? Well, your best tackle. I don't know if he's still the Raiders' best offensive lineman because JPJ is actually a dog. The other reason why here I think that you could end up getting this extension done is you traded for Geno Smith. You didn't trade for Geno Smith to put him back on a bad offensive line. I understand the Raiders went out and drafted Caleb Rogers. I understand the Raiders went out and drafted Charles Grant. But neither of those dudes is ready yet to protect Geno Smith's blind side. And it doesn't make any sense to trade for Geno unless you have a solid offensive line. And he is such a better quarterback when he believes in his left tackle. I mean, hell, Smith was sacked 50 times last season. Smith was sacked 31 times the year before that, 46 the year before that. It is really, really important to protect Geno Smith's blind side, and I know how important Pete Carroll values Geno Smith, and to get the best version out of Geno, you need to make sure Colton is an offensive tackle. The final reason here of why I know this deal is going to end up getting done is he is a great leader, and he might not be the most vocal person out there. And in today's day and age, I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? Like, I need you to show up, get your job done. And the fact that he's showing up during voluntary workouts tells me that he's doing the right things to prove to everybody that he is a leader of this football team. He's been a captain for the last 3 seasons on the Raiders. I know that he's a great teammate. I know that he shows up for some of his other teammates. I mean, I can remember I did a competitive eating contest against Jermaine Illuminor. Colton Miller actually just randomly showed up and said, hey, I'll participate as well. He ended up doing the eating contest with us because it was for charity. The year before that, I did one against Jonathan Hankins. He ended up showing up to that because he shows up for his teammates, and I know how important Pete Carroll and John Spytek value guys that not only love football, but are a part of building something special, and that's what Miller really does truly want to do. So to me, I look at what Miller brings to the table, and I go back and I look at some other contracts out there, and I'm going to continuously say that I believe the Colton Miller contract extension looks something like 2 years, $41 million, with $31.0 million guaranteed, which then when you tie that to his deal that he already has, that 1 year contract, it looks something like 3 years, $56.7 million. $31 million of that is guaranteed, and this ties him to Max Crosby. It ties him to Geno Smith. It ties him to Pete Carroll because all of those guys and coaches have 3-year contracts with the Raiders. If you're trying to build for the future, Colton Miller needs to be a part of that project. Coming up next here on the show, we're going to talk about Ashton Jeanty because when you draft a running back as high as what the Raiders did, you already know the offense of the rookie of the year numbers are going to be going out there left and right. And I'm somebody that likes to look at the latest odds from Vegas, no doubt about it. But it's Ashton Jeanty going to win Rookie of the Year. I got to give this one only 2 just win babies, and I would say that it's a coin flip. But in all honesty, I think that this is probably the right way to do it. And I say that because in today's day and age, quarterbacks get this award. Honestly, wide receivers have won this award more. In fact, the last time a running back won Rookie of the Year was Saquon Barkley back in 2018. Also the year before that, I want to say Alvin Kamara won it in that year. But as it stands right now, Jeanty is the favorite to win NFL Rookie of the Year. And I also think that the way that the Raiders drafted this season, they proved that this is a team that's building around Jeanty. The Jack Bech pick is a wide receiver that loves the block. That helps Jeanty. Thorton Jr., take your top off of a defense. That helps Jeanty. Even a guy like Tommy Mellott, I think really helps a dude like Jeanty where you're going to be having a lot of pre-snap motion, a lot of confusion. And if you're a half a step late, not only is Jeanty going to run by you, he might run through you. And if you look right now at the NFL Rookie of the Year odds, Jeanty is the best odds at plus 250. However, though, Cam Ward's playing quarterback. Quarterbacks usually win these type of awards. He's at plus 300. Travis Hunter, what type of work is he going to get? It depends how much he plays on both sides of the football. Omari and Hampton, I hate to admit it, he's going to be in the mix here. Jackson Dart, Shedeur Sanders, there's a lot of other interesting names out there, but I do really believe that if he goes out there and he gets you 1,500 yards and the Raiders are somewhere around 8, 9, 10 wins, I think that Jeanty's got a shot to win NFL Rookie of the Year. If you think this guy right here, the dude that a lot of us have been hoping that the Raiders could get, and I'll admit, he was not my number one choice that I wanted in the draft, but if y'all don't think that I'm fired up that we have Ashton Jeanty, arguably the best running back in the NFL, on a rookie contract right now, you're kidding yourself. Comment Jeanty down below if you think this dude right here is going to win NFL Rookie of the Year. And you know what? If you're out there spamming Jeanty and you want to get your hands on a Raiders Jeanty jersey, go to chatsports.com/Jeanty. Or you can also go to chatsports.com/Raiders jersey. And either of those links should work. Now, I know some of you are going to be like, well, Mitch, he's not going to wear number 1. This is literally just a placeholder that the jerseys like to do because essentially what ends up happening here is the Raiders haven't given him a number yet. And because the Raiders haven't given him a number yet, he's going to probably end up picking, at least I hope he gets number 2. I don't know. I'd be pretty upset if Daniel Carlson didn't give up number 2. But if he picks number 1, if he picks number 2, if he picks number 69, I don't care what it is, whatever the correct number will be, that's the number that's just going to be on your jersey. So don't worry, you will get the actual Ashton Jeanty jersey when he announces his number. So if you want to get your hands on that, it's chatsports.com/Jeanty, or we can also put that link for you down in the comments and down in the description of today's show. It's chatsports.com/Raiders jerseys, which I believe that you can get to this through both. So chatsports.com/Jeanty, chatsports.com/Raiders jersey is how you can get your hands on a Jeanty jersey, which actually, funny enough, I was looking the other day at the top selling rookie jerseys, and Jeanty right now is 4th on that list. I want to get Jeanty at number 1 on that list. So if you can, let's get Ashton Jeanty to have the number 1 selling jersey, because I want to see people rocking the Jeanty jersey. And right now, as it stands, Jeanty is number 4, behind Shador, behind Cam Ward, behind Travis Hunter. So nation, chatsports.com/Jeanty, chatsports.com/Raiders jersey is how you're going to be able to get your hands on an Ashton Jeanty jersey. Let's keep it moving here on the Raiders report. And Amari Cooper, is he coming to Las Vegas? I saw a story out there the other day that said Amari Cooper was at Max Crosby's draft party, and because he was at Max Crosby's draft party, everybody's thinking the Raiders are going to go out and they're going to add Amari Cooper. Is he coming to Vegas? No. Tuck rule, tuck that. Not only do I think it would be idiotic for the Raiders to bring back Amari Cooper, I'm going to be real with you. I don't actually think Amari Cooper was at the Raiders draft party, and I say that because as soon as I saw this rumor, I started reaching out to people, and I said, was Amari at Max Crosby's draft party? And essentially what I was told was no, Amari Cooper was not at the draft party. So then I started thinking, well, why the hell would people think that Amari Cooper was at Max Crosby's draft party? I couldn't exactly think about it, right? And I think the other reason why it's not going to happen is because you drafted 3 wide receivers during the 2025 NFL draft. To me, though, like, the only thing that I can possibly come up with is I know Amari Gaynor was at the Raiders draft party. So knowing that Amari Gaynor was at the draft party, I almost wonder if like somebody was like, oh yeah, Amari's at the draft party. Too dumb to realize that it was Amari Gaynor and not Amari Cooper. Amari Cooper coming to the Raiders at this point, I'm sorry, it doesn't make any sense. Though I will say this. If you were to tell me right now the Raiders sign a veteran wide receiver, the name that I'm going to go with is not Amari Cooper. The name that I would go with is Keenan Allen. But I'll also say this. I don't really think the Raiders are going to add another receiver. It's not that Keenan's not a good player, but this team values the guys that they have. They value Tommy Mellott. They value Thornton Jr. They value Jack Bech. And then obviously, you got Jacoby, you got Brock, you got Michael Mayer, you got Trey Tucker. I don't really think that there's a reason right now for you to go out and spend $10 million on Keenan Allen. I understand that he's got the connection with Chris Beatty, but if I'm going to go out and I'm going to try to spend money right now, there's 2 areas that the Raiders need to spend money. First, you better get that contract extension done with Colton Miller. Second, you better get that contract extension done with Jacoby Myers, because I think both of those players not only deserve a contract, both of those players I want y'all to tie to Max, to tie to Pete Carroll, to tie to this organization. So before we start talking about going out and signing other players, let's get a deal done with Colton. Let's get a deal done with Jacoby Myers, because we have the money to do it with $42 million overall for the Las Vegas Raiders. Appreciate everyone tuning in to the latest news and rumors. And if you missed it, we did do a live interview with Tommy Mellott today on the Raiders Report. What is your confidence level right now in the Raiders offensive line? Scale it from me from 1 to 10, because I think that this is a really important question when you talk about Geno Smith. I think it's a really important question when you talk about Ashton Jeanty. So the overall look of it, what is your confidence level right now in the Raiders offensive line? I see Taino early on is going to give a 7 here. I see Big Luck says 6.9. Breakfast says 7. Patrick Roche is going to go with a 6. Buzz-O-Matic 69 is going to go with an 8. 7.5 from Ed Robbins. I see Toasty Topic says 7. A 6 from Lance. An 8 from Exactorator. Mo's going to go with a 7. King Zay says 8. I mean, I'll tell you this. I think that feels pretty good. I feel like that feels pretty fair. And I also say that because the Raiders' starting offensive line is probably going to be somewhere, I would say, in the 15 to 10 area of offensive line rankings. But the amount of depth we have, I do think Charles Grant is good depth. I do think Caleb Rogers is good depth. Whether you think Jordan Meredith or Alex Kappa or Dylan Parr, Mathayer Munford, this Raiders offensive line is a deep unit. And one of the very interesting things that I always see teams do, and I think the Philadelphia Eagles prove this year in and year out, is they go, you can never have too much depth on offensive line. You can never have too much depth on your defensive line. And that's one of the things that I saw that the Las Vegas Raiders really, really, truly did this offseason. We got 1,000 people here in the building, and a huge, huge shout out again to everybody tuning in. If you're wondering, Mitch, who's the special guest? We already brought on Tommy Mellott earlier. We asked him some questions. We broke it down. If you missed it, it's all good. We will put out a video later in the week of that full Mellot interview. But appreciate all y'all tuning in. Coming up next here on the show, we're going to be talking about some of these Raiders free agent targets after the 2025 NFL Draft. Before we get into that, though, if anybody wants to get some questions, some comments on the show, hashtag Raiders or Super Chat to skip the line, and Chugs and I are going to go ahead and we're going to answer some of these questions. But I do have right now 977 people here. What up, Giuseppe? Appreciate you tuning in, my man. Venthrak just got in. Is this number of wins? I'll go 7. No, it was confidence level there, Venthrak. Confidence level. Bill, I am 7. I got you. Toasty Topics. Eagles got like 7 linebackers. They look at certain positions and look at what the Raiders did. We have a lot of very athletic linebackers, a lot of unproven depth, but we do at least have depth at certain positions. Andrew Nernia, I got you down there, man. Khalil Woods also going with an 8. Since we don't have any questions on today's show, I am going to get into the next segment here, and it's going to be around some of the Raiders free agent targets, just because we still have some holes that need to be addressed, and we still have $42 million in salary cap space. So because we have salary cap space, because we have all this, I want to be able to talk about some of these players that we could potentially target for the Las Vegas Raiders. So, oh, man. Vago says, what player's coming on the show? We already had him on the show. He started the show off with us. But like I said, we will do I'll kind of break down the full interview a little bit later on. But appreciate all y'all tuning in. Jason, how about them Warriors? I think that's why Chugs is being so quiet today. He's a little bit upset that the Rockets are down 3-1. But here's the thing. If I've learned anything, especially going up against the Warriors, you can come back from a 3-1 deficit. Right? I mean, has there ever been a team that's come back from 3-1 against the Warriors? Has there ever been, to the Warriors fans out there, yes or no? Has a team ever come back 3-1 against the Warriors?
And if they had...
What color were they?
If they had, definitely not in the playoffs. Like, definitely not, like, deep in the playoffs.
Yeah, dude, there's no chance it would have happened in the playoffs.
Yeah, you know?
There's no way that team color also would have been red. There's just no way. There's no way. No way. So coming up last here on the show, Megalodon says LeBron was down 3-1. I love that you said LeBron. LeBron was down 3-1.
Just him.
Just LeBron. Just LeBron. Though, what color are the Cavs? Are they a red? Maroon? Yeah.
This is getting to the shirt debate.
Yeah, no, you're right. That's a whole nother can of worms here, which I don't even think that we want to get into. Don't even think we want to get into it. All right, y'all, let's get into the final segment coming up here on today's show, and it's going to be Raiders free agent targets, because I still think that there are players that this organization could potentially bring in. He's down 3-1, Big Luck. I know. Chugs is down a little bit, but he's not out. He's not out. If I was you, this is how I would look at it. I go, you know what? If we lose, we lose. But if they come back, the amount of shit talking you're going to be able to do, not only on this channel, out there and potentially to the world, it's going to be unbelievable.
Me and Ron have that same bet that me and you had for the Raiders MVP.
Oh, yeah? So if Rockets win, Ron sends you 5. And if the Warriors win, you send him 50. Basically. All right, Ron, you heard it. Get ready to get $50 richer, Raider Ron. Though, I'm not kidding you. The text message that I got from Ron last night. Also, I just got a text from an agent from somebody that the Raiders drafted. And it looks like right now we are setting up another time to get another Raiders player who we just drafted on the show. That's pretty awesome. Next thing that I saw, though, was Ron sent me this. This is at 12:30 in the morning, just by the way. Like, think about, you're laying in bed, and you get a text at 12:30 in the morning, and it's like your wife, girlfriend, fiance is like, who's texting you at this time? It's Raider Ron, honey. And it said, like I said, Dubs in 5 or 6 if we choose to win at home. Chugs better be looking out for me during tomorrow's live feed. No? I think he's done with it. All right, y'all, let's get into our Raiders post-draft free agent targets coming up here on the Raiders Report. Raider Nation, what's going on? It's Mitchell Renz here, host of the Raiders Reporting. Coming up on today's show, let's look at some Raiders free agent targets after the 2025 NFL Draft. Pete Carroll, John Spytek drafted 11 players. We also went out and we signed 16 UDFAs. So as it stands right now, 91 players are on the roster. We're allowed 91 because of David Agoa, the International Pathway Program player. Though, if the Silver and Black were to go out and sign any of the names that you see on today's show, we would have to cut a player. The other reason why I got to do this show is because we still have $42.4 million in salary cap space, which I would use that money to extend Colton Miller and to extend Jacoby Myers, but you still could also look at some potential team needs. So the way that I'm going to be looking at these free agent targets is still based on some of the biggest needs that this Raiders team has. To me, as it stands right now, I would say that our number one need is free safety. And you could say free safety, you could say linebacker. Quite frankly, I think it's 1A, 1B overall. But when you look at free safety, we're really relying on Isaiah Paul-Amal. We're really relying on a secondary that doesn't have as many proven players to really be able to go out there and step up. I like Isaiah Paul-Amal. I like Jeremy Chin. But both of those guys, to me, are, more of run defenders and up near closer to the box, where I don't know if we have that true center fielder that I think that this defense still definitely needs. So let's talk about the first target at free safety. I'm going to go with Justin Simmons. He's 31 years old and has started 31 games the past 2 seasons, so let's not be alarmed by the age. And he's had at least 60 tackles and 2 interceptions in every year since 2017. He's played primarily as a free safety, but does also offer you at least a little bit of versatility in the box and the slot, and he's getting older and older. I hear you loud and clear. But I do still think that he could play at a high level, and if our defensive line is going to be as good as what I think our defensive line is going to be, Justin Simmons on a 1-year prove-it deal, quite frankly, I actually think does make a lot of sense for this team. Let's look at another player here, and this might be the guy that I would consider. Julian Blackmon, safety from the Indianapolis Colts last season, going to be 27 years old and has 62 games started over the past 5 seasons. In the last 2 years, though, because this is somebody that, and y'all know that I'm a sucker for somebody that gets better and better and better and better. The fact that he has literally improved every single year that he's been in the NFL, I don't know how you don't look at him at 27 years old and go, this kid's had 7 interceptions the past 2 years, 174 tackles, and a PFF coverage grade. I want a free safety that can cover, and that's what this team needs, a safety that can cover. His safety coverage grade, 72.6 in 2023, and then a 73.5 in 2024. Let's go to another name here that could be a potential free safety target for the Raiders. It's Jordan Whitehead, 28 years old. He's got 101 games started in his career. He won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady and John Spytek back in 2019 when they took down the Kansas City Chiefs. But, let's think about how important relationships are to this regime. Relationships simply matter. And at this point, you got to look at relationships considering, we're talking about NFL free agents. Has mainly played free safety, but also from time to time would line up in the box and in the slot. And I keep bringing that up because I think the Raiders want guys with versatility, and we also still need to be able to go out and find a nickel corner. Let's go to another name here, and I know he's up there in age. Quandre Diggs, safety, 32 years old. He only played in 8 games in 2024, but he's got 145 games played in his career. He also played 5 years with Pete Carroll in Seattle. And quite frankly, when I think of Quandre Diggs, I think of Quandre Diggs in Seattle. And I think of how good he was with Pete Carroll. The dude made 3 Pro Bowls. I want to say it was from year 2020 to 2022, but 3 Pro Bowls with Pete. And then again, if we're going to bring him in, a 73.2 overall PFF grade, a 70.0 run defense grade, and a 70.6 coverage grade. Quandre Diggs can still do this thing at a high level at 32 years old. I also think he'd be a great fit for what we are trying to build for the long haul because he does know Pete Carroll extremely well. Let's go to the final free safety here. I'm just going to throw out Marcus Williams' name. Had a bad year last year, and that's just the truth. Marcus Williams was horrendous last season for the Baltimore Ravens, and when they took him out of the lineup, You know, the Ravens defense did get a lot better. But if you want to take a one-year flyer on somebody that had one bad year, maybe you can get him back to the way that he looked from, 2017 to 2023 when he was with the New Orleans Saints, when he was with some of these different defenses. Marcus Williams, if all else fails, you want to go cheap? It's somebody that I would bring in potentially on a one-year $1.2 million deal, same way like John Spytek said, let's give a resurgence to Devin White. Maybe they're trying to give a resurgence to Marcus Williams. So this is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. And I want to know, if you could pick one free agent after the NFL draft that you want the Raiders to sign, you're about to get it with a YouTube ad break. While that ad is playing, I want you to scroll on down and please give me your answer. If it was up to me, I'm either going to go with Justin Simmons or I would go with Julian Blackmon. I think both of those guys would be really solid, but I would go with Julian Blackmon. To me, we still need a free safety, and I want to be able to build with somebody that's 27 years old. It continuously shows you that he gets better and better. Let's go to the linebacker position now because I think it is still a big-time team need, and quite frankly, when I filmed this video live on Tuesday, the voters said 54% that linebacker is still the biggest team need. 31% of the votes came in for free safety. You got Devin White, you got a Landon Roberts, and I would imagine that those are going to be your top two starters as it stands right now. But then there's a lot of unknown commodities in an Amari Burney, an Amari Gainer, a Tommy Eichenberg, a Cody Lindenberg, who they just drafted in round 7. And maybe their plan is to put Lindenberg out there with the Landon Roberts, but to me, we need a coverage linebacker, and I'm going to look at Kaiser White. He did have a bad year last season, but he is only 29 years old, started all 17 games, and he's a versatile linebacker. He lined up in the slot only 52 times last season, which, again, it's not a lot, but essentially, if you were to line up in the slot 3 times every single game, that does provide at least a little bit of versatility for somebody like Patrick Graham. Also, 481 tackles the last 4 seasons. He has averaged 120 tackles the past 4 years. Kaiser White also has some AFC West experience from his time with the Chargers. Let's go to another linebacker target here. It's Juwan Bentley. And Bentley is still, to me, a good coverage linebacker. Tom Brady teammates in 2018 and 2019. 100-plus tackles from 2021 to 2023. He injured his pec last season in Week 2, which forced him to miss 15 games. But I do know for a fact that the Raiders were looking at Christian Ellis, and really, really wish that we could have got that deal done. But because the Raiders missed out on Ellis, I have been wondering, are they going to look at Juwan Bentley? I'll also say this, and I'm just going to be very, very blunt. I am not all that excited about Juwan Bentley. I'm not all that excited about Kaiser White. And then the other name here I'm going to throw out is Chaz Surratt, who, again, a little bit of an unproven player. Maybe they give him a shot, maybe they don't. But this wouldn't shock me if the Raiders said, you know what? I'm going with our linebackers that we have on this team. A lot of unknown proven players with a bunch of different regimes, and you're probably hoping that one of those guys stands out from the pack. I will continuously say the player that I think that could stand out and surprise some people this year, Amari Gainer. Keep that name in mind. All right, y'all, I want to make a deal here. Y'all know that I love to make deals, and I usually make them when I'm live. If this video gets 100 new subs, if I can get 100 Raiders fans to click that subscribe button, I'm going to go live if any player that I talk about in this video signs with the Raiders. Because in May, June, and July, sometimes it's a little bit slow. Sometimes some of these minor signings happen. But you know what? You get a minor signing in May, June, July, dude, I'm telling you, it absolutely hits. So if we get 100 subs from this video and any player that we talk about on this show ends up signing with the silver and black, we're going live. So you better be subscribed, better have those noties on so you don't miss it. Let's go to the next spot here, and it's going to be in the nickel. And Jacorian Bennett, who is featured here on the photo, is an outside corner. But as it stands right now, I would say the number one starting DB that we have in the nickel is probably Darnay Holmes. And I will have a lot more confidence in our outside corners. But Jacorian, I don't know if you put him in on the inside because he did so well last year on the outside. DeCamerion Richardson, I would say, is an outside corner. Eric Stokes, Darian Porter, outside corners. Though, we talked a lot about different odds and ends. And even when I asked you guys about that pinned comment, who would I consider signing? I'll tell you another really good answer for that question is Mike Hilton, who I would say is probably the top nickel corner out there on the free agent market right now. He is 31 years old, but he's still playing at a high level. 4 straight years of a 70-plus PFF grade. Also, 123 games played, 56 games started, 23 starts the past 2 seasons. But look at the numbers the past 2 seasons. on Cincinnati. 157 tackles, 13 PBUs, 3 interceptions, 24 tackles for loss, 2 sacks. Mike Hilton can do a lot of different things. And for a regime that's got a young cornerback room, let's be real, it's a really, really young cornerback room. If I think I know this organization the way that I think that I do, if they go out and they get somebody, I believe it's going to be a veteran. Maybe it's a Mike Hilton. Also, it could end up being this name, Troy Hill, who has been playing a lot more slot the older and older that he gets, and he signed with the Buccaneers last season. Didn't really get many opportunities to play. I believe it was only 2 games, but he played in 8 games last year. 202 slot snaps, and his 2024 PFF grade was a 63.2 overall, but a 70.6 coverage grade. The fact that John Spytek and that Buccaneers regime decided to sign him once, that tells me that there is at least a little bit of a connection, and for that reason, you got to put him on the show. Let's go to another name here, and he's not a nickel corner, but I do think that if you were to ask a majority of people who is the top corner available on the open market, I think a lot of people would say Asante Samuel Jr., but here's the thing. He's not a nickel corner. He's played outside for his 99% of his career. There's been times where he's lined up in the slot like most corners in different situations have, but if they want to sign Asante Samuel Jr. to make him a nickel, I don't know if that's the best area of operation. Maybe it's the way that he can make the most money, but I knew for a fact if I did this show and I didn't mention Asante Samuel Jr., people would yell at me, but at the same time, he's not a nickel. The nickels that I talked about are Mike Hilton and Troy Pride. Those are the top 2 guys that I would keep in mind. Before we got some other Raiders free agent targets, I do want to tell all of y'all that if you're trying to get your hands on a Ashton Jeanty jersey, you can go to chatsports.com/Jeanty, and you're going to be able to get your hands on a Raiders jersey. You can also go to chatsports.com/Raiders jerseys if you're like, you know what, Mitch, I already got a Jeanty jersey, but hey, maybe you want a Brock Bowers, maybe you want a Max Crosby. There's other jerseys available. This link is going to be available to y'all down in the comments and down in the description of today's show, and this is just a placeholder number. As soon as Jeanty announces his number, which I'm hoping Daniel Carlson gives him number 2, we'll see what ends up happening there. But as soon as his number gets announced, that'll change. It just says number 1 because he was the Raiders' first-round pick. Though, I do want to challenge the nation because I'm a prideful guy, and I want Jeanty to know that we got his back. Right now, the top-selling jerseys, Jeanty is number 4 out of all the players that were drafted behind Travis Hunter, behind Cam Ward, behind Shedeur Sanders. The more jerseys we get, the higher Jeanty's going to go up this board, and I'm going to challenge the nation. Let's show him that we got his back. And I want to get Jeanty to number 1 on this list by the end of next week. So that's the challenge I'm putting out there to the nation. If you want to get your hands on an Ashton Jeanty jersey, it's chatsports.com/Jeanty. Let's go to the next team need here. And I'm going to be real. When I really went through and I looked at all the team needs, I sat here and I went, I think it's free safety, linebacker, and nickel. And quite frankly, those are the only positions that I really see the Raiders going out and trying to add any talent on. Now, maybe they want to add a veteran receiver because this wide receiver room is pretty young outside of Jacoby Myers. But the only reason why I'm putting veteran wide receiver on here is because of the connection to Keenan Allen. And I know Keenan Allen has been somebody that has been talked about multiple times on this show because of his relationship with Chris Beatty. But if I'm being 100% honest with you, I don't really see the Raiders going out and adding a veteran wide receiver. But if they were to do it, I am still going to say that Keenan Allen is going to be a name to keep in mind because he grew up a Raider fan. He worked with Raiders wide receiver coach Chris Beatty from 2021 to 2024, and he started at least 10 games every year since 2017. Has there been times where he's battled some injuries? Yes, of course there's been some times. But I also know that this team values relationships, and if this team wants to go out and add a veteran receiver to add more talent to Geno Smith, I would say the name that to keep in mind is Keenan Allen. But if they do go out and they get Allen, I think that obviously means bad things for Trey Tucker, who is already probably a little bit confused about the Raiders' draft plans after taking 3 receivers. Another name that I'm going to throw out there is not a target is Amari Cooper, but I knew that people would ask me about Amari. I don't think the Raiders are going to target him, but some people would say he's the top wide receiver out there. Before I get into the next slot of players here, is there a chance that the Raiders sign Amari Cooper? Would you do it? Pete Carroll, John Spytek, you're sitting in a room with them. They look at you right now. They look at Yoda Jenkins. They look at Raider Prime. They look at Texas Sub. They look at My Guitar, Big Rock, Buzz-O-Matic, and they go, sign or pass. What would you say? I'd say this is pretty simple. It's a pass from me, dog. Let's go to the final Raiders team needs here, and I'm going to call them team builders. Players that might not exactly fill a need, but players where they go, you know what, this is going to be somebody that's going to help me achieve my goals and achieve the goal of getting everybody to buy in what you're selling. Because if you're trying to get everyone to buy in what you're selling, I think a lot of times you need a veteran that's been there and done that. The first name that I'll throw out there is John Jenkins, defensive tackle. He's still on the open market. I get he's 35 years old. But, we could use him on our defensive line. I think John Jenkins is better than Lucky Fotu. I think John Jenkins is still able to play at a high enough level where he's better than Matthew Butler. And I get it. That's a younger player. But if you're telling me I got to bring somebody in that I think can contribute, John Jenkins is a name that I'll throw out there. Another name that I'll throw out there, Amir Abdullah. I know some of y'all might be surprised, but let's give Amir his flowers here. He was an absolute flipping dog at the end of last season. He was playing his heart out, even in games where, you're like, I don't really know if we want him to go out there and do it. Yes, you have Ashton Jeanty. Yes, you have Raheem Mostert. But do you believe in Dylan Lowby? Do you believe in Sincere McCormick? Do you believe in some of these other running backs? I'll tell you this. I would rather you put the ball in Amir Abdullah's hands than Dylan Lowby. I don't know how healthy Sincere McCormick is, but a 30-year-old running back, $1.2 million, who loved being a Raider last season, it's just a name to keep in mind. And then the final name that I'll bring up is just a builder, Shaq Barrett. He's played a lot of football games with Tampa Bay. Won a Super Bowl with Tom Brady and John Spytek. And because this team showed so much interest in edge rushers, showed so much interest in guys that can get after the quarterback, what if this is somebody that you go, you know what? Instead of keeping Charles Snowden, who was a knucklehead, why don't I try to bring in a Shaq Barrett? Because if you're bringing in Devin White, I think I give the exact same argument of why you should try to bring in somebody like Barrett. Yeah, he's had some injuries, but veteran, knows this regime. Just saying, it's kind of an interesting name to throw out there. If you haven't already, make sure you guys give me a follow on Instagram and on Twitter. I'm at Mitchell Renz 365. Appreciate all y'all tuning in. And again, if we get 100 subs on this video, any player that I talked about, if the Raiders end up signing them, we are going live here on the Raiders Report. Which side of the field is better after the draft, after free agency? Type O for offense, type D for defense. What do y'all think? And then we're going to go through here. We're going to look at some of the super chats, and we're going to sit back and we're going to have a little bit of a debate here because I think it's interesting. Offense or defense? Brian Baca says offense. Emmanuel Sanchez says offense. What's crazy is I'm seeing a lot, and I mean a lot of O's down below. Somebody said, why not both? Well, I guess I'm presenting this question as do you think the offense or defense is better? Which, if you're asking me, do I think the defense is better than last year's defense? No. I think last year's defense is better. We just had a lot of injuries last season. Do I think this year's offense is better? Yes, I do. If you're saying offense, defense, what side of the football is better for the Raiders? To me, I think offense is better. And when you look at this potential 2025 Raiders offense, I mean, it's pretty intriguing to me, right? You got Geno Smith at quarterback, running back, tight end. Those are your top three wide receivers. You could also mix and match Trey Tucker with Dante Thornton Jr. You could also mix and match, Trey Tucker with Michael Mayer. I know when you look at the offensive line, some people have Jordan Meredith at left guard, Dylan Barham at right guard. I'm just a believer if the season started today, the Raiders would try to get Alex Kappa in that starting lineup, and I do. I think this offense is better than this Raiders defense, but you could make an argument that there are some certain areas where this defense is a lot deeper, like on the defensive line, but there's still a lot of question marks in that secondary, and maybe Pete Carroll's just really believing in himself, where, you can go with some of these younger players like Jacorian, like Isaiah, like a Darnay Holmes, like an Eric Stokes, but I'd be lying to y'all if I didn't say that this Raiders secondary is really concerning me right now. So for that reason, I'm going to type my O for offense because I do think that the Raiders offense overall is the better unit. All right, y'all, I appreciate all y'all tuning in. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to answer some questions. We're going to go through some super chats here on today's show, and I'm going to answer these, and then once all these questions are done, Jeremy Chuggs and I are going to hop on out of here. What up, Xavier? Tomcat Mellott, multiple inspirations behind it. Tomcat Mellott. I mean, I know cats have 9 lives. Mellott Magandhi is the one for Chugs. I mean, I kind of like Tommy football, and I kind of like, what was the other one that he had? Touchdown Tommy, Tommy football. I mean, could you imagine if all this conversation around Mellott, or all this conversation around quarterbacks, imagine if Mellott was the best quarterback we had. What? You're laughing. Oh. Patrick Roche, what up, man? I'm concerned about Wilkins playing up to standards this year. Can you go to the next one? Sure. I guess it depends what your standard is. He was a little bit lackluster last season. He also battled some injuries, but when you're getting paid $27 million, I think that the expectation is you go out there and you're a Pro Bowl player. Like, I expect, 5 to 6 sacks from Wilkins. I expect him to be able to get Max Crosby to 16, 17 sacks. And he does need to step up here a little bit. And I'm hoping that foot is 100% healthy. I'm hoping that he's ready to go. But he's going to have a phenomenal opportunity to prove that that was a great signing by the Raiders. But it's a big-time prove-it year for Wilkins, no doubt about it. Let's go to the uprising. Would you trade for Ramsay to play free safety? If he's confident in his ability, and if John Spytek and Pete Carroll are confident in Jalen Ramsey's ability to do it, then yeah. I mean, I think at this point, you got to buy into what Spytek and Pete Carroll are doing. You got to buy into what they're selling, because to me, Spytek and Pete clearly prove that they have a plan. I like the plan that they're going out there and executing. There's still a lot of time this offseason, but if you told me right now the Raiders traded for Jalen Ramsey to play free safety, I think it'd be fun. I mean, we've seen other safeties do it. We've seen, Charles Woodson do it. We've seen Patrick Peterson do it. We've seen players that were elite corners in the back half of their career go, I can still do this thing. If John Spytek, Pete Carroll, and Jalen Ramsey all said that they thought that they could do it, I would give up a 4th-round pick in the 2026 NFL draft in order to do it. Because quite frankly, I think we're going to get a 4th-round comp pick. And again, the comp picks, it still goes into how much playing time certain guys get in the year of 2025, but I'm anticipating we're going to get an extra 4th, a 5th, and a 6th comp pick. All right, y'all. I'm going to hop on out of here. It's a little bit of a quicker show today, and that's because we brought on Tommy Mellott to be able to do that interview. I'm also trying to save my voice to the best of my ability. The next time that you're going to see me and Jeremy Chugs live here on the Raiders Report is going to be Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific. To everybody that tuned in, to over the 900 people that are still live, greatly, greatly appreciate all y'all, and I'll see you again on Thursday.